we have something really weird and fun to talk about. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce myself and then have our panelists introduce themselves. I'm Mike Carlo. I have a company called XanderPay. You've met a couple of our teams. I know something about a head and a vice president. Hi, Lisa. We're very honored to be head annual partner for as long as there have been annual partnerships, and we're excited to enlighten the audience on some of the fun things that are happening with payments. And with that, I have two esteemed panelists with me. I'd love for them to introduce themselves.
For me? Yes, my name is Marco Ramore. I'm some Italian. I come from the Blastness company. At the end of December, we had a merger with the Hermes Hotels and Blastness. Now we are big groups in Italy. We have about 1,800 hotels. Most of them are in Italy, but we are looking to work abroad. Our services are the CRS, the booking engine, channel manager, but we are many other services as revenue management, consultancy, management systems, the digital marketing activities.
And it's also very impressive to, well, not impressive, it's very difficult to sit next to a very stylish Italian man from Rome. Sorry, I've been corrected. Laurie?
Well, I agree with you. Very stylish. I'm Laurie Gablehouse. I'm with Worldline. We're a payment services provider based out of the Netherlands. I'm based in Houston, Texas, however. I've part of the consulting team at Worldline. I do basically the solutions management that helps put some of the pieces together for our customers, both hospitality, airlines, OTAs, so across the travel vertical. And I've been there since Mike hired me before he left me, about 12 years now. So,
Yay.
Yes, been around a bit and also part of Hedna because of you.
Cool. Well, thank you. So before we get started on what we're going to talk about, a question for the audience. How many people here have taken an Uber, Grab, Lyft, car rideshare? All right. How many of you have then subsequently taken a taxi and walked out without paying? Or tried to? Am I the only one?
No.
So the reason I bring that up is one of the things that we're going to talk about is how we use payment to change the guest experience. And if you think about taxis, Uber changed the fundamental experience with the taxi. It made it super easy, and also you don't pay at the end of a ride. It's just all taken care of. And so when we've been, one of the things we're going to talk about is Laurie and I and a few others in the room are part of an HTNG payment community of interest. And for those of you who don't know, HTNG welcomes all HEDNA members into the different working groups that they have. But we've gone through a year-long assessment of what the future of payments, hospitality payments, should look like. And I can go on for hours, but we only have 21 remaining minutes. So no, it's okay. Effectively, after a year of discussion, understanding what the hurdles are, understanding the various models, we got to the point where we are looking forward to the Uberification of hospitality payments. And ultimately, the group has put together a goal that by 2030, we will eliminate all friction at the payment front desk. And so that leads into above property payments, it leads into technology, and it leads into a really different guest experience. The technology to do all of this exists today in every other industry, and so we're working with HTNG and HEDNA, we're developing the plans and the working groups to enable that. Imagine checking into a hotel, and similar to the discussion earlier about Mama, imagine checking into a hotel and having a front desk, but the front desk not having to ask about a credit card, not having to tell you about the you have 50 euro a night charge on your card for incidentals at a hotel that doesn't have incidentals, and checking your passport. All of that's going to be working, are things that we're going to be working through. There, for those who are interested, there are 3 HT&G working groups. One about payment optimization, which Laurie is one of the co-chairs. There's a second about digital identity and how to apply digital identity globally to the check-in experience. And the third, which is going to be very interesting for this group, and we need some volunteers, Sandy Angel in the back corner there coordinates things for HT&G. If you have an interest, the third will be how do hotels work with third-party bookings to arrange for seamless data that allows for ease of online centralized check-in. So that's my very not so quick overview of why we're here. It's all about changing the way payments operate. Laurie, with the payment optimization group, do you want to give a very high level, hopefully quicker overview?
Yeah, because you took 10 minutes. No, very quick, 30 seconds. I'm co-chair of the Payments Optimization Working Group, which is under Mike and Marilyn May from IHG support. I have a co-chair from Mandarin Oriental, Schword Bauer. I don't know who here might know him. Also, Jules from Global Payments. But the three of us have completed the charter, so we have officially kicked off the effort to deliver this year a playbook. And obviously, we don't have all the solutions, but I do think we know the questions. And I also believe we can provide a lot of the why. I feel that we've had this come up a few times in the last day and a half, but why do you care? Why should you care? Why should your C-level write you a check so that you can make this happen? I believe the idea of making it frictionless, so to speak, is not new or is in question. It's just the investment and the how do I get there part that we struggle with in general. So by the end of this year, we'll have a playbook that I feel you can all start with.
Thank you. So moving away, of course, we can talk through that at lunch if anyone's interested. Moving slightly away from that, Marco, you've been engaged in this journey about understanding payments, and you have a bit of a unique experience in that you work with a tech company, but also you work with a company that owns hotels. And I think the biggest question that I want to know from you is, what should hoteliers know about with regard to payments, and have you been shocked at what they do or don't?
Yeah, I started, as you say, as a hotelier, and then I'm after 20 years I'm working in travel tech. I still speak with the hotel manager every day, so I know what are the needs. And until 2 years ago, they saw the payment as annoyance, as a necessary evil. But now they are understanding that they are starting to understanding that the technology can help them to improve their operational process and to improve the customer journey.
And what has been surprising to you about the knowledge base?
I was surprised because many years ago, the hoteliers realized that the booking flow was switching from the telephone, from the fax, from the mail to a digital payment. Mm-hmm. But if we speak about the payment, they hold the old traditional method and the traditional flow. For example, for the motto to mail order to mail order, telephone order transactions. Why? For the bookings you use the digital bookings, and for the transaction you don't use this. Now the technology can do it. We just to embed the different kind of technology in order to give good solutions and easy solutions to hoteliers and to the guests as well.
That's interesting. And one of the conversations we had yesterday about the payment process and moving things to a guest-centric payment experience. And just for those who are new to the topic, the notion of guest-centric means regardless of where the hotel is located, the payments are driven by where the guest is coming from. And Laurie, we were in that session yesterday, and it seemed to me that one of the big differences that we need to address is the notion of a transaction.
Yeah. I feel that, and being, 12 years ago, I came from 30 years in the airline industry. So I was very new to the ownership structure in the hotel industry. And I feel that when I started this, that I had to kind of shift my perspective because of that, because that structure was driving anything and everything to do with how payments were accepted by the hotel, which is not aligned necessarily with how the guest wants to give you their money. And I still feel that's why we started the guest-centric discussions about, you started the user story about the Chinese guest wanting to go to a London hotel, and they might pay on a website with WeChat Pay or Alipay, but then they get to the hotel in London, and all of a sudden they got to find a card, and this is not how they want to give you their money. So I feel that we've made a lot of progress. Mm-hmm. I actually feel that it might have been one of the greatest gifts of COVID. That coming out of COVID, there was a new focus by the hoteliers on where their money was. I don't feel that prior to that, it was more of just an operational thing that somebody had to do, and the focus was not there on how you can make that an experience, how you can make that part of the experience, and to make it a better experience so you can also create loyalty and revenue out of that.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, because we've been working on these payment working groups for quite some time, and almost always the element that is discussed is the cost savings, because the reality is for any cross-border guest, 95% of the hotels in the world are paying 1 to 1.5% more than they need to process that. But the other piece is the guest experience, both from a booking perspective, but also from a check-in and a check-out, is friction-filled.
And I feel, and this is one of the things that came up in our discussion about creating our playbook on the why do you care? Well, what are you even measuring? I mean, what do you consider the cost of acceptance? Are you all the way upstream to the shopping and the cost of acquisition of that guest, the expense that you put into actually getting them to select your property and to book at your property? What did all that cost you? And I don't feel, in some cases, maybe it's not apparent. I don't know. I feel that formula, we obviously can't put your numbers into it, but the idea that you should know those numbers is a good start.
Well, and if you think about with being had done a distribution conference, the B2B transactions and the amount of complexity for the front desk clerks to agents to check someone in with all that data is tough.
Well, and I think it's still, again, some of the compliance and regulatory things that happen give you a gift, because all of a sudden authentication became an issue with 3DS and PSD2 and all the stuff that's coming that goes out of Europe or comes out of Europe actually kind of forces the discussion into, well, what are you even doing to make sure that you can keep the money? Yeah. Maybe for a moment you have an approval, but in the end you don't have any money. So all of those little things start to add up in how well the money hits your bank account, but how many different people in between had to get involved because it wasn't automated or you didn't have a different way of taking that money.
And Marco, what would you suggest that hoteliers do differently?
So, if you, I believe, it's important to observe the other industries. For example, before you spoke regarding for the Uber, for example, but the traditionals, to take an example, for retail or e-commerce. they've changed the way of to buy and to pay the products. So today we can purchase it, we can pay in seamless without any noticing it. In hotel industries, it's not the same.
Right.
The payment is totally disconnected from the booking. This create a great frictionless. So, but as I said before, we have the technology that we have to embed the different kind of technology from the booking and from the payment. They have to embed it in only one solution.
So you recently published an article, and for those in the room, it was on Forbes.com this week?
Yeah, last week, yeah.
And, well, what would you say is the overall premise of the article?
Yes, the name of the article is Embedded Payment in Hospitality, the CRS as a strategic hub for hotel payment management. What does it mean? The CRS through its tools, channels, or booking engine, the channel manager connectivity, the GDS connectivity, the CRO, can collect all the booking data from the customer. So they have the relationship with the customer, and every changes, every modify, other communication will be made through these tools. So if we embedded the payment data together with the booking data, will be easier for the test. What does it mean? For this reason, for example, regarding for the payment flow, if we manage during the booking flow in a different way, because we know that our industry is different than the other regarding for the different rate plans, different cancellation policy, by cancellations and payment policy, they are very different in the other industry. We can have in same flow the authentication. For example, the authentication that will be the strong customer authentication if they are a European customer, the 3DS, the pre-authorization, the management of the network token that will be increase the authentication and the approval rates, the card attributes. So if we can have all together in one data, will be easier. And this platform is the CRS, because the CRS can collect all this data, whilst the PMS can't, because they received this data from the other solution, from other platform.
It was a fascinating article. Laurie, what did you think when you read through it?
Well, I feel it extended where we've been going, right? That we've always said the shift needs to be above property. You know, and another term might be to look at card not present versus card present, the mix of how that process works. If today the vast majority is card present at the property, then I feel we're missing the opportunity to pull that above property, centralize, optimize, whether it's authentication and liability, or maybe it's just the efficiency it brings to the operation to not have to deal with it. There's several good reasons to bring it above property and take the money prior to the guest crossing the threshold at the property. Now, it doesn't mean you're never going to have anything happening with payments at the property, but I feel the mix and the balance moving forward is what needs to shift.
Yeah, so I agree with everything you both have said. To me, there's a lot of inertia in the industry. Like, we've always done it this way, it works, why would we do anything differently? If you have a domestic market like the US, where I live in Los Angeles, yeah, you might get to a point where you have 95% 5% of your guests are U.S. customers paying with the U.S. card. It's pretty basic. What happens in a country like Singapore, where you're going to have 98% of the guests being cross-border?
Well, I do feel the greatest challenge on some level is how can you compete with these OTAs who have entities in these regions so that they can already optimize this. This is why payments at an OTA is a very different experience. And where you can take advantage of a brand or a company that can then process those payments more regionally focused, you can optimize the cost of that. You can optimize your negotiations for how you pay for those things. And all of these features around authentication, around other payment methods other than cards, which outside of the US is really a thing. I feel that all of those reasons are going to give you the value to making this shift, to getting this to happen. And it does take an effort. I mean, things are evolving, and this requires that you shift where things happen.
Marco, with regard to your experience with Blastness, it seems as though you're seeing an increased focus on direct bookings.
Yeah.
And I think the earlier discussion today sort of talked about what a high percentage the Mama Shelter here in Lisbon was receiving through direct bookings. Is that something that you see as throughout the industry?
Yes, absolutely, because the hotel needs to have a greater control over the guest relationship now, to increase the loyalty and to contain the distribution costs. This is the aims of the hotel managers at the moment. The OTAs are becoming the giants now, and they are transforming in a fintech company. So they are using this kind of new revenue stream in order to have a more attractive rewards for the guest. For the guests, but in order to have to increase the loyalty, not for their platform, for the OTA, not for the property. So, in the other hand, your hotel needs to manage, to understand well how to achieve to have a direct contact to clients through the new kind of digital marketing, advertising activities that we can do, and a new kind of the demand generation that can we do without the OTAs.
And Laurie, we've been here at Hedna for over a decade together.
Oh, good Lord.
Hedna has traditionally not engaged in the direct booking process flow. You know, if this is a trend and hoteliers are starting to increase efforts or success, or maybe not even increase efforts, reap the benefits of efforts, what do you think that means for Hedna?
Well, I think Hedna is already starting to embrace. I mean, AI is a whole new animal, but that means that as distribution of the room needs to be as important as how the room is being paid for. And if that shifts some of where Hedna is supporting the hoteliers, I feel Hedna will do that. I think they've already started to do that with our workshops and things. So, yeah, it's not just the room inventory. And to your point about the booking, I feel the payment was always like a plug-in or an add-on, and it was never thought of in a way that made it something that could succeed well most of the time. And that's the change we need to have.
Well, wonderful. To conclude, I would encourage any of you that are interested to look at what the Hedna payment group is doing, payment discipline is doing, to look at the HTNG working groups. I feel very strongly that by 2030, we are going to all check into hotels, at least a lot of different hotels, in a much easier way when it comes to payments. And with that, I'd like to thank my fellow panelists and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.